For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. So let's cut to the chase. Bottom line, is Kegan Kline a suspect or not? Is he linked to the case or not? In this episode, I'm going to take you through 2 contradictory news reports, and I'm going to show you how and why semantics are quite important. You might say it's just semantics, but that is exactly what it is and why it is. We often talk about the letter of the law. You've often got to be careful in terms of legal cases, what you say and how you say it. And bear in mind, Kegan Kline is up for a hearing early next week. So all of this is very much coming to a head. For those waiting for the Moab Deep Dive number 4, that is going to be the next video after this one. So look out for that. And then I'll be doing another analysis of the Alec Baldwin case, this time giving the director's version to the cops. And that'll be after the Moab Deep Dive. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So 4 days ago, Wish TV posted the following story online. And the title of the story was "Man Behind Anthony Shots Account Charged, but Docs Don't Tie Him to the Delphi Case." In WDRB's report, I think it was published the same day, 3 days ago, their title was "Court Documents Link Indiana Man to Social Media in Delphi Investigation." In the second report, if you remove the social media reference, the headline reads, "Court Documents Link Indiana Man to Delphi Investigation," right? And using the same words, but editing the headline even further, Indiana Man linked to Delphi, right? When we do the same with the first headline, we get "Man Not Tied to Delphi Case." So which is it? Man linked or man not linked? Well, both reports are accurate. Does that make sense? You might not think so. Reading between the lines of the court documents, Kegan Kline isn't linked to the Delphi case. And yet, reading between the lines of the court documents, Kegan Kline obviously is linked to the case. It remains to be seen how direct or indirect those links are, how provable and demonstrable they are, or even whether Kline is regarded as a suspect, prime, or possibly one of the usual suspects. As of right now, the authorities are not saying that they suspect Kegan Kline is the Delphi killer. The question is, are they thinking it? And everyone seems to be besides the police. So in other words, it is certainly part of the chatter. And if you think that he's not linked, well then why are we seeing his face? Why are we seeing the charges against him? Why are we seeing his picture juxtaposed to images from the scene? And the answer is because there obviously is a link. The question is, how much evidence, how much direct evidence do the police have? And they're not saying, which is making it more difficult. We don't know what evidence they have, and we don't know what evidence they don't have. We don't know whether they have DNA. And it does seem as though they don't have enough, put it that way. It does seem as though they have a lot, but not enough. And so from where I'm standing, I think it's hard to imagine Kline wouldn't make the podium, the top 3 for possible candidates in the Delphi case. I made a video recently where I explained in detail why Kline is actually such a good candidate for this particular case. So why not just say that? Well, they might not be ready to do that. They may not be ready. They may be still trying to get more evidence. And also, if you had to put up your hand and say, you are the authorities, if you had to put up your hand and say, we found our man, we convinced it's this guy, by the way, can some of you guys give us some information? Did you ever interact with this profile? That is possibly going to contaminate the narrative. You're going to have people coming forward either with bogus stuff. They're going to, create bogus stuff for possibly for attention, or it's going to intimidate people that even if they did interact with him, that they don't want to be associated with him, or it could be kind of a thing where it might lead to a kind of a bias in witnesses. So there are a couple of reasons to keep this information close to the chest, as it were. Now, it's possible that during Kegan Kline's hearing early next week, a lot more information may come to light regarding the police position on this fellow. The interesting thing with these apparently contradictory headlines, I think, clearly demonstrates how the same thing can be reported differently and still be true. They can both be individually true, and they can both separately be true, and that may not seem logical. That may seem to be an absolute contradiction, and yet it isn't. If you consider how online algorithms might prefer one slightly different version of the same story to another based on our own preferences and biases, you can see how something that is true but has another side to it, another slant to it, may progressively become distorted as only one side, only that side, is reinforced and repeated time and again. So the part that I want to leave you guys with is, bear in mind that this is happening, that you do have stories in the media like this, and the one is just kind of a different interpretation. The one is saying, wow, we've noticed that this guy's not linked, right? And someone else is saying, it looks like he is linked, right? And both are true from a particular point of view. But what the algorithm is doing, so in other words, when you find this on your news feed, I'm giving you this example as an example of other similar things that are an interpretation of the facts. What is happening is the algorithm is doing its job. It's trying to keep your attention, trying to provide information you believe in, are interested in, and accept. And so let's say you click on this story saying that he isn't linked. Then you're probably going to get more information on the fact that there's doubt around that. Does that make sense? And you're going to keep clicking on that. On the other hand, if you believe, you're quite sure, you think that there's quite a lot of reason to believe that this is the guy, then the algorithm is probably going to provide that to you. And what is really necessary is that you get both versions, that you see that there's a view that he is linked, and there's also the fact that he hasn't really been directly sort of implicated, right? He hasn't been identified as a suspect officially. And so it's up to you to do that, to make that connection, right? So think about the algorithm. It's actually doing you a disservice. It's giving you what you want, but it's not providing you with critical thinking. If it provided you with the antithesis to the story you're interested in, or both versions of the story you're interested in, that would be the algorithm providing some critical thought for you. And maybe algorithms can be developed for critical thinkers that do provide both versions of particular events. Think about health issues today and the type of news that people are getting. Are they getting both sides of the story or just one? So all I'm trying to say is, where you get an algorithm that is purposefully customizing your news and curating the information to your subjective needs, it's up to you to be critical, to think, what is another possible interpretation here? So uncritical thinking means something that starts off as logical may eventually become illogical if sufficiently and subjectively reinforced. And I think a lot of that is happening. So if ordinary everyday algorithms diminish critical thinking, then it's our job to make sure we apply it regardless or in spite of it. And that is certainly one of the purposes, the ambit of this channel, is to help you see reality, to help you see things authentically. And one of the ways to do that is to acknowledge there may be another way to see the evidence. There may be another interpretation. Food for thought? I hope so. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.